Thanks for tuning back in today. Today I'd like to talk about why I think cycling is better than running. One of the main reasons cycling is better than running is because it's a much more approachable sport. And what I mean by that is that anybody can get on a bike and get in a half an hour on a weekend. Running takes more training to get to a point where you can do 30 minutes at a time, or to where you can do it regularly with a friend. Another thing that's nice about cycling is it's really easy to bring your nutrition along with you for the longer efforts. Whether it's water bottles or gels or sometimes even food, those things are more difficult to bring along with you on a run than they are when you have this machine that's under you that you can attach things to. You might have heard my watch go off a couple of times during this video, and that's because I have it set to keep me in my aerobic zone during this run, and I'm having a hard time staying in that aerobic zone. And that's kind of to my point, you know, with cycling, it'd be a lot easier to be in this aerobic zone and not be fluctuating up out of it all the time. But another reason why cycling is more fun is because on these planned routes that they have during the week, they'll typically have one or two sections where everybody knows they're gonna pick it up. And so you're kind of waiting for somebody to make that move. And then when they do, you have to go after them. And it's kind of like a little race within the weekly ride. You know, from week to week, you remember who won last week's. And it's not like there's any prizes given out or anything, but I think there's just some fun playfulness in challenging each other to a little blip of a race. And it allows anybody that's out there to have a chance to shine. Another cool thing about the cycling community is that they have a lot of fun with what they're wearing. Like, you'll show up to a ride and, you know, you see familiar faces and it's like, oh, you got a new kit, you know? They have a lot of fun with dressing up. But in Florida, especially where we're at, it's so hot that normally you're just wearing a pair of shorts anyway. So there's not a whole lot different. You know, I might be wearing a black pair of shorts and you might be wearing a blue pair of shorts, but there's not that whole, you know, I bought a whole outfit for this thing. Another big reason why I think cycling is better than running is the group mentality. Cycling group versus a running group. The experience that I have with cycling is just that you go out to a group ride, whether it be during the middle of the week or on the weekend, and you're probably gonna have 50 people out there, and within those 50 people, there's probably 3 separate pace groups. And so depending on what your fitness level is, you can go with an A group that's going to be a lot faster, a B group that's kind of in the middle, or a C group that's a little more casual. One of the things that cycling does better is the pit stops. So they'll have their weekly group ride, which typically follows the same route every week, and then they'll have 1 or 2 pit stops, and they're typically at gas stations. And I don't think there's anything that hits quite like an ice cold sweet drink from a gas station when you're in the middle of a long ride. Another thing that cyclists do is they really stack their weekend rides. Like, during the week, you might have a 90-minute ride on a Tuesday, a 90-minute ride on a Thursday, and then on the weekend, your long ride might be 3 to 4 hours worth of riding. I just think that's cool, and it makes sense to really stack the weekends. I personally try to do that as much as possible. Another thing I think cyclists do better is that their races are typically pretty short. It would kind of be equivalent to the person doing marathon training going out and doing a 5K, you know? They're getting a lot of work in, a lot of mileage during the week, and then they'll have a quicker race on the weekends where they just kind of all duke it out and challenge each other. Now, obviously I'm being a little facetious because I do prefer to run. I think running has its perks. I think being able to just lace up your shoes and walk out the door is one of those perks. Really, at the end of the day, this is just a wish list of things I would like to see our running groups have. Bigger numbers, consistent pace groups, a little bit of fun, short race type efforts thrown in to our weekly meetups. When I think about it, I think the running equivalent to cycling is probably more like an interval group. That's scalable, which makes it more approachable. You know, if we're all running around the same quarter-mile track, you could be running significantly slower than me, yet we're still running. There's like 8 or 10 of them, and I'm out here by myself. And I have groups to run with, but there comes days like today where there wasn't really anybody available that was gonna be running my pace. Anyways, I think an interval group would kind of be a more approachable, more fun version of a running group. If you agree and you'd also love to see these things that cycling has be incorporated into our running groups, leave me some feedback in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the subject too. That's all I've got for today's video. We'll catch you guys next time.